right, so Chapter 3, Lesson 4 is multiply decimals by decimals, okay? On the warm-up, it says here, the table shows the weight of a 1-pound object on each planet, okay? So these are all the planets, and then these are the weights of a 1-pound object. Number 1 says, this is just a statement, a 1/2 pound object weighs 1/2 as much as a 1-pound object, correct? Okay, so that's just a statement. If a cheeseburger weighs 1/2 pound on Earth, what will it weigh on Jupiter? So here, if we look at Earth, there's 1, Jupiter, 2.3. Does everybody see that? So that means that that cheeseburger will weigh 2.3 times as much as it does on Earth. Does everybody understand that? So it will weigh 2.3 times as much as it does on Earth. So in order for us to find out how much it weighs on Earth, we just multiply 2.3 times the 1/2 pound that it is on Earth. You got that? When you go through and do the multiplication, you will end up with 1.15 pounds. Now, I'm not going to explain all of this right now because I'm going to talk about it during the lesson. So I just wanted to show you how to, or explain what you're supposed to do here. So you're multiplying 2.3 times 1/2 because the cheeseburger weighs 2.3 times as much. Number 2 says, what would a barbell that weighs 5 pounds on Earth weigh on Jupiter? Well, again, on Jupiter it would weigh how much more? 2.3 times as much, right? So here, 2.3 times as heavy as it is on Earth. So you're going to multiply again 2.3 times 5. Okay? And then that would give you 11.5 pounds. Okay. So what was noticed here was that when we multiplied this and we got 1.15 pounds, look at how many numbers are behind the decimal here. And look at how many numbers are behind the decimal here. And then when you multiply 2.3 times 5, look at how many numbers are behind the decimal up here in the problem, and look at how many numbers are behind the decimal in the answer. You see that? It matches up, right? All right. So today we are going to multiply decimals. We're going to multiply decimals. Now here it says, when multiplying by a decimal, you multiply as with whole numbers, and then to place the decimal point, you're going to find the sum of the number of decimal places in each factor, and then that number will be the same as the number of numbers behind the decimal in the answer. Okay, so the product has the same number of decimals. In other words, you guys, when you are multiplying a decimal times a decimal, you multiply like normal, right? Multiply like normal. And then you count how many how many numbers are behind the decimal in the problem. And then the answer will also have that many numbers behind the decimal. So for example 1, we have 3 6/10 times 5 hundredths. 3.6 times 0.05. When we do that multiplication, we're just going to multiply like normal, and we end up with 180 down here. 6 times 5 is 30, carry the 3. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 3 is 18. And then here, we don't have to do that 0 right there. Now, when you look at the problem, there's 1, 2, 3 numbers behind the decimal in the problem, right? In the total of the numbers behind the decimals. 1, 2, 3. So that means that in the answer down here, there will be 1, 2, 3 numbers behind the decimal in the answer. For example 2, we have 0.112 times 7.2. or 112 thousandths times 7 and 2 tenths. So here we want to see how many numbers are behind the decimal in the first digit. 1, 2, 3, right? How many numbers are behind the decimal in the second factor? 1. So that tells me that when we add these together, the answer will have 4 numbers behind the decimal place. Is everybody clear with that? So over here, we're going to go ahead and do it. So we multiply like normal, just like we said. Whoops. We multiply like normal. So 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 1 is 2. And then there's another 2 times 1, 2. And then, of course, when you were in elementary school, your teachers told you to put a 0 here, right? You're going to hear me just say, we just scooch over, okay? I just say scooch over. So then we have 7 times 2 is 14. Carry the 1. 7 times 1 is 7 plus 1 is 8. And then 7 times 1 is 7. And then, of course, we're just going to add. So we end up with 4, 6, 10, carry the 1, and that's 8, right? So now, how many numbers do we have behind the decimal?
4.
4. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So my decimal goes right there. Is everybody clear with that? And what is this box for? That's for my leading 0. Okay? That's for my leading 0. If we had a whole number in the front, then we just put, if we had like a 1, 2, 3, you just put that number. But if there's no number, if it's 0, you just add the 0 in there. Okay? All right. So let's take a look at these got it problems. All right. So for example A, we have 5.7 times 2.8. 5 and 7 tenths times 2 and 8 tenths. So when we do this, we are going to, once again, multiply like normal. How many numbers are we going to have behind the decimal in the answer?
2.
Very good, 2, because we have 2 numbers behind the decimal in the problem. So multiply like normal. 7 times 8 is 56. Carry the 5. 8 times 5 is 40. Plus 5 is 45. Good. And then we're going to scooch over. Okay, then we'll scooch over. And then we have 2 times 7 is 14. Carry the 1. And I like to just cross this other one out. Carry the 1. 2 times 5 is 10. Plus 1 is 11. Very good. And then we just add. So we have 6, 9, 5, 1. And how many numbers do we have behind the decimal? 2. So that's 1, 2, and my decimal goes right there. All right, good question. Good question. When we are multiplying, we do not need to line up the decimals. Okay? All right, for example B, we have 4 and 12 hundredths times 5 hundredths. And once again, we're going to multiply like normal. Okay? So 2 times 5 is 10. Carry the 1. 5 times 1 is 5. Plus 1 is 6. And then 5 times 4 is 20. Very good. And then here we're going to multiply the zeros, right? So we're going to get, again, we got to scooch over, right? Oops. And then 0 times 2, 0. 0 times 1, 0. 0 times 4, 0. Do I need to do this 0 right here? No, I don't need to do that one. So now we add. So we've got 0, 6, 0, 2. And how many numbers behind the decimal? 4. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and that is where my decimal goes. Right there. And of course, we're going to put our leading 0 in. You got it? All right. So why don't you guys do this one on your own, and then I'll tell you what the answer is. right, so there is your answer. So you just multiply like normal. And then when you multiply like normal, we end up with 8150 here down here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers behind the decimal. So in the answer, 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers behind the decimal there. So that gives me 518 10,000ths. So now we're talking about annexing a zero. Okay? So now we're talking about annexing a zero. If there are not enough decimal places in the product, then you will need to annex zeros to the left. Yes, write that down. Okay? So, for example, here, example 3, we have, we want to find 1 4/10 times 67 thousandths. Now, when I have a problem like this, you guys, I like to put the longer one on top. Okay? It just makes it easier for me to deal with. And I think you'll see that in the books too. So, I like to put the longer one on top. So, here we have 0.067 times 1.4. And we multiply like normal, right? But up here, do I need to multiply that 0? No, I don't need to multiply that 0. Okay? So when we do that, we end up with 938, right? But the answer has to have 4 numbers behind the decimal. So when we look over here, we've got 1, 2, 3, and then we'd have to add this 0 so we can get the fourth number behind the decimal. Is everybody clear with that? All right, so example 4, we have 45 hundredths times 53 thousandths. Okay, so here they didn't put the longer one on top, but that's okay. We'll just still do it. So now here it says the product will have how many numbers behind the decimal? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Very good. So we need to have 5 numbers behind this decimal. So we multiply like normal. So we're going to multiply 5 times 3 is 15. Carry the 1. This is 4 times 3 is 12. Plus 1 is 13. Carry the 1. And then 3 times 0 is 0. Plus 1 is 1. Then we're going to scooch over here. Then we have 5 times 5 is 25. Carry the 2. Then 5 times 4 is 20. Plus 2 is 22. Carry the 2. All right, and then we have 5 times 0 is 0. Plus 2 is 2. Good. And so now we add. So we add 5. This is going to be 8, 3, and 2. So now, how many numbers are we supposed to have behind the decimal? 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't have enough, but that's where the decimal is supposed to go. There's the decimal. So we need to annex the 0. So that 0 goes there, right? And then, of course, we're going to put our leading 0 out here. You got that? Awesome. All right, so for the got it problems, we have 0.04 times 0.32. So that's 4 hundredths times 32 hundredths. So once again, we multiply like normal. So 4 times 2, 8. 2 times 0, 0. Oh, I don't even need to do that one, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then we have 4 times 3, 12. So we're going to scooch over 12. Carry the 1. 3 times 0, 0 plus 1 is 1. And then we're going to add. So here we have 8, 2, and 1. How many numbers am I supposed to have behind the decimal? 4. Very good. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. That's where the decimal goes. Yes, you're right. So there's the decimal. and we need to annex that 0. And then we'll put our leading 0 out in front. Got it? All right, let's do the next one together. So here we have 205 thousandths times 26 hundredths. So once again, multiply like normal. So 5 times 6 is 30. Carry the 3. 6 times 0 is 0 plus 3. 3. And then 6 times 2, 12. Then the next one, don't forget, you guys scooch over. So we have, let's just put a little arrow here. Okay. We have 2 times 5 is 10. Carry the 1. 2 times 0, 0 plus 1, 1. And then 2 times 2, 4. And now we add. So we have 0, 3, 3, and 5. So how many numbers do we have behind the decimal?
4.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and annex that 0. There's my decimal over there. Annex the 0, and then place my leading 0. You got it? All right, how about you guys do letter F on your own, and then I'll show you the answer. So on this one, whoops, unfreeze. On this one, we're just going to multiply like normal, right? So that's going to be 18, carry the 1, that's 18 plus 1, that's 19, carry the 1, and then 6 times 1 is 6, plus 1 is 7. Now, do I need to multiply these zeros? No. So, now, how many numbers do I need behind the decimal? 4. So that's 1, 2, 3, and again, annex that 0. So there's my decimal, and there is the 0. And my leading 0. Is everybody clear? All right, example 5 says a certain car can travel 28.45 miles with 1 gallon of gasoline. The gasoline tank can hold 11.5 gallons. How many miles can this car travel on a full tank of gas? And we want to justify our answer. So here, when we're looking at this, we know that the car can go 28.45 miles in 1 gallon, right? But how many gallons do we have? We have 11.5. So that means we have to multiply that 28.45, which represents 1 mile, 1 gallon, times the 11.5 gallons. So when we do that, we multiply like normal. And you see this time we scooched over twice, right? And then 1, 2, 3 numbers behind the decimal. 1, 2, 3 numbers behind the decimal. So the car can drive 327.175 miles. Is everybody clear?